Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode here on the J72 Gaming channel. My name is Jacob, but you can just call me Jay here. And today the devs over at the Isle, they dropped Devblog number 10, Traversing New Depths, and I'm here to tell you what you kind of need to know so you don't have to read every single thing about this. If you guys like this content, please drop me a like and a subscription as it really does help out the channel grow. But without that, let's dive into this devlog and see what you need to know. So first up here, Felipe, the lead programmer, he talks about how he's been kind of working with the server and the codes behind all the things that work with latency. So he's been working with the flesh mechanics and the Dinosaur lunges and stuff like that, and he's been trying to squash those bugs and make it all feel seamless and much better for us. He finally concludes here in this last paragraph that they're going to be opening up the QA branch again for stress tests and disconnect issues before the full release of Update 3. So stay tuned. I expect that to be coming out in the next few weeks for sure, and definitely before Update 3. So next up we have DM4, the programmer, and I actually think he says some really great things here revolving around gameplay and how it affects us as a player, so I want to read what he says actually specifically. He says, I've continued to work on the flight movement, giving more control over speed. For one, it is now possible to brake and slow down, letting players have more precise control when they want to land accurately. On the other hand, a faster flight is now possible in sprinting. It lets you move significantly faster, but you might want to watch your stamina. He then goes on to talk about diving. He says they've also made some improvements to diving to make it much more smoother. There's now an acceleration and a deceleration, allowing you to change up your up and down direction more gradually. Overall, there is less and less sudden movements while diving, making it feel like you really are in the water. The next few things he says are about the Dinosuchus and the Pteranodon. He talks about how he set up the 360 attacks, which I'll show on screen here. They've showed off a little bit of that already, so he continued working on that. He also says how he gave the Dinosaur some love and made it use controls more like the other species. So the left mouse button is used for biting. When pressing it in combination with Alt, it will perform the claw attack. He said he's also separated the kick and the tail slam so that the latter, the tail slam, is only used when Alt is held down while pressing the right mouse button. These are pretty cool changes and they're really giving us some more flexibility and as well as some advanced skill sets to get better with these dinosaurs. So I'm really loving that this game's going to kind of reward players for learning the dinosaurs and really gaining the skill over time with their specific species. So Amrock, the AI programmer, he discusses how he has been working on the two different variations that AI will be implemented. And when you have a server, you can basically configure which one will be on or off. So basically, they've got the player simulation and the realism simulation. So first off, this player simulation, this means that the AIs are going to act and behave as closely as possible to actual players. Sometimes it can actually be hard to tell the difference, such as spam crouching or bunny hopping around. Now, the player simulation also includes the realism traits. The realism traits are that the AI will act and behave as a creature of that size and nature they generally would act in the real world, such as immediately fleeing as far away as possible from a larger predator. These are pretty cool. I really like that we're going to be able to choose, and it's actually going to make the servers feel different based off of which one you choose to join. He also talks about how the AI has been worked on as far as spawning goes and how it will be more region based. And what he means by that is that the amphibious ones will spawn more or less near water, and the land animals won't. So Wedge, the sound designer, he goes on to talk about how he's been working on a lot of the same stuff he worked on in the last devlog, which is basically working on underwater sounds as well as sounds in the air when you're a pteranodon. But this paragraph right here is super interesting in my opinion. It says here the heartbeat sounds have been created, which will be introduced and increased in rate as the player oxygen levels decrease. This, in combination with the change to underwater ambience, will give you a completely different feel to the underwater environment and gameplay, complementary to the Dinosuchus' ability to drag creatures underwater. All the Dino's prey will hear is the deep tones and wash of the underwater ambience and the sounds of their struggle to escape, their hearts startling to race and the vortexes of water as they attempt to escape the Dino's clutches. Whoa. Hypno, the QA lead here, talks about how overall they've spent time working on the sizes and weights of our dinosaurs. The Carnotaurus and the Tenontosaurus specifically have been scaled down, and they say that they mainly did this for two reasons. The more important being that in the long run, these sizes will make much more sense for gameplay reasons, and the second one is that the Carnotaurus is supposed to be the fastest dinosaur, and that it's supposed to be tailored towards a small game hunter playstyle. So that'll be focused on running down pretty much anything smaller than the Tenontosaurus. He goes on to talk about the bleed mechanic and how they've changed it, which is honestly, guys, going to really change how combat works currently. Basically, bleed is going to work a lot more like Legacy. It's going to bleed a lot faster, and wallowing in the mud is still going to be effective, but it's not going to negate that bleed effect as much. And he talks about how the more you're moving and the faster you move while you're bleeding, the more the bleed is going to start doing to you. So really now it's going to be basically like Legacy. When you get bit, you're really going to want to sit as soon as possible. A few more notes on what he talks about too. He talks about the what he calls the curse pounce stat rework. Basically, they're always going to be working on this pounce, but they've totally taken it down a notch in damage, but made it do more bleed damage. So the focus of the pounce is really to get a pounce on, start doing a lot of bleed damage, and then get away and watch as the dinosaur that you pounced on is kind of bleeding to death, and stay nearby so that maybe get another pounce on later to keep them bleeding. But it wasn't meant to do as much damage as it was doing, and I personally think that's a really good change for the Utahs. Additionally, bucking has been significantly buffed to be worth performing now to get those Utahs off. Next up in the dev blog is Visual Tech 48 and Tap Wings concept art. I'm going to go ahead and show you the two photos that they showed off here as well as the concept art. However, I have a video displaying Tap Wings concept art much more closely, so go check that out if you want to get kind of a full screen look at that. And last but not least, we have Kitten, the producer. I'm going to blow up her paragraph here as she kind of explains overall what they've been working on as a whole. And then they've got their closing remarks here. So go ahead and pause that if you want kind of a detailed look at what they've been doing, as she's always gives good insight for the team. But that's pretty much going to be everything for this devlog, guys. They worked on the desync and the latency issues with all the fish and the flesh of meat on the ground, as well as the Dinosaur lunge. The programmers have been working on the 360 attacks, as well as implementing different sounds up in the air and down in the water. They've got the heartbeat mechanic. They've got the AI that's going to have player simulation or realism based on which one the server chooses to do. And the QA team has really been working on scaling down the Carno and the Tenno and making everything work with the bleed mechanic as well as that curse pounce stat. So that's everything I think you guys need to know about Devblog 10. If you guys like this video, please drop me a like and subscribe if you want to see more updates like this, as well as some of the other videos I do, like Carnotaurus hunt challenges and gameplay footage and yada yada, the fun stuff here and there. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.